Canadian visits to the U.S. by car fell 35% in September. And this isn't just another trade statistic. This is the ninth consecutive month of devastating declines that's turning into an economic disaster for American tourism. While the administration promised to make America great again, his aggressive trade policies are driving away America's most reliable international visitors and costing the U.S. economy billions.
Well, it's a complicated agreement, more complicated maybe than any other agreement we have on trade, because, we have natural conflict. We also have mutual love. We have great love for each other. I love this. I love Canada and the people of Canada. And Mark feels the same way about here. The problem we have is that they want a car company and I want a car company, meaning the U.S. wants a car company. And they want steel and we want steel. So in other countries, they're very far away and there's no problem. You can compete and you can do. We don't like to compete because we sort of hurt each other when we compete. And
the fundamental issue lies in what officials describe as a natural business conflict between neighbors. Both countries want the same industries: car manufacturing, steel production, the economic engines that drive prosperity. When two nations share thousands of miles of border and compete for the same businesses, every trade decision becomes a zero-sum game where one country's gain is perceived as the other's loss. The numbers tell a brutal story. September saw a 35% drop in Canadian road trips to the U.S. compared to last year, matching August's 34% decline. Air travel wasn't spared either. Canadian flights to America dropped 27% year over year. This isn't a temporary blip or seasonal adjustment. This is a sustained economic boycott that began in April and has shown no signs of slowing down. Every single month since then has seen double-digit drops in both car and air travel from Canada. To understand how catastrophic this really is, you need to grasp Canada's role in American tourism. Canadian tourists have historically been the single largest source of international visitors to the United States, making up roughly 1/4 of all foreign travelers.
As it stands right now, we are the second largest trading partner of the United States. We do a lot of trade going across the border where we're cooperating, first thing. Secondly, we are the largest foreign investor in the United States. $500 billion in the last 5 years alone, probably $8 trillion in the next 5 years if we get the agreement that we expect to get. Thirdly, there are areas, as the President just said, where conflict, maybe not so much conflict, we compete. There are areas where we compete, and it's in those areas where we have to come to an agreement that works. But there are more areas where we are stronger together, and that's what we're focused on. And we're going to get the right deal for America, right deal, obviously.
Canada's significance extends far beyond tourism numbers. As the United States' second largest trading partner and largest foreign investor, Canada has invested $500 billion in the U.S. over the past 5 years, with projections of $8 trillion in the next 5 years if agreements proceed as expected. In 2024 alone, Canadian tourists spent $20.5 billion vacationing in America. That's not pocket change. That's the economic lifeblood of countless American businesses, hotels, restaurants, and tourist destinations. But recent tariffs and inflammatory rhetoric have shattered this relationship. The protracted decline is part of a larger international tourism collapse, with tourism economics projecting an economic loss of up to $29 billion, compared to what U.S. tourism officials expected at the beginning of 2025. This isn't just about Canadians, it's about America's reputation as a welcoming destination crumbling under aggressive policies. The root cause of this tourism catastrophe lies in recent actions and words. Shortly after taking office in January, the administration announced intentions to impose 25% tariffs on Canadian goods, while repeatedly suggesting turning Canada into the 51st U.S. state. This wasn't diplomacy, this was economic bullying combined with territorial threats that insulted an entire nation.
Talking about trade, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. We'll certainly be talking about Gaza. We're in very serious negotiations to, I guess you could say, depending on the way you count, 3,000 years, you could say 500 years, you could say, but that it's been raging for a long time. And I think there's a possibility that we could have peace in the Middle East. It's something even beyond the Gaza situation. We want a release of the hostages immediately. etc. And so our team is over there now. Another team just left, and other countries, literally every country in the world has supported the plan.
Yep.
I don't think there's anybody that hasn't, actually, not that I've seen. But there's a real chance that we could do something, so you may have some questions on that later. But in the meantime, we'll spend some time and we'll make some deals and we'll do some things that are good for both of our countries. And Mark, it's an honor to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. If I may, you kindly hosted me and some of my colleagues a few months ago, and I said at the time, you are a transformative president. And since then, the transformation in the economy, unprecedented commitments of NATO partners to defense spending, peace from India, Pakistan through to Azerbaijan, Armenia, disabling Iran as a force of terror, and now, and I'm running out of time, but this is in many respects the most important.
The merger of Canada and the United States.
The rhetoric has included discussions about serious negotiations and transformative changes, but these have been overshadowed by the competitive tensions over manufacturing and trade. Tourism officials are clear about what's driving the boycott. Tariffs and anti-immigration rhetoric have repelled travelers worldwide. Tourism Economics, a division of Oxford Economics, wrote in their August update that geopolitical and policy-related concerns, paired with harsh rhetoric, have resulted in negative global travel sentiment toward the U.S. They noted that the sentiment drag has proven to be severe even as the weakened dollar has made the U.S. a more affordable destination. In other words, America is cheaper to visit than it's been in years, but policies have made it so unwelcome that people are staying away anyway.
I don't think that anybody in Washington cared one bit about what we were saying about the F-35s. We'll see what comes out of this meeting tomorrow, but I like Lisa's point that coming on October 7th, it might give Trump the occasion to talk about what Canada did, which, as far as the Americans were concerned, went against their best interests and those of Israel. I don't think they should overplay their hand, because Trump wants to be seen right now as the peacemaker, and he's still hoping, I guess, to get his Nobel. But for Canada right now, this is a very difficult time, and it's not getting easier. This all has to dovetail with the renegotiation of the Canada-U.S.-Mexico trade deal, Vashi, and anything that comes out of tomorrow's meeting, I think is going to have a hard time meeting that test.
I started the segment off, Benzie, by talking about that letter from the leader of the federal conservatives, which kind of speaks to, in more general terms, the pressure here at home, right? The sort of political context here at home. There's what's going to happen there, but also how it plays here. Is it enough if nothing worse happens at the end of this meeting, if there aren't any additional tariffs or there isn't, some throwing away of CUSMA to some degree? Or does the Prime Minister need to come back and say, I actually am able to reduce, let's say, steel and aluminum tariffs by half or something like that?
Yeah, he's going to have to show a deliverable at some point, Vashi. I mean, there was a lot of snark in Mr. Poilievre's letter. Understandably, he's the leader of the opposition. He lost an election because he didn't see the Trump issue, or his campaign didn't grasp how that was going to play. Carney exploited it successfully. But now, Prime Minister Carney has to...
American consumers themselves are now facing 17.4% average tariffs on goods, compared to just 2% under the previous administration, with the average household spending $2,300 more annually. This consumer pressure is creating ripple effects throughout the economy, yet it hasn't softened the stance on trade disputes. The Canadian response has been swift and decisive. According to a poll by Leger, nearly half of Canadians surveyed said they were less likely to travel to the U.S. this year, with most planning to travel within Canada instead. This isn't just about individual vacation choices, it's become a matter of national pride and resistance. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau explicitly encouraged Canadians to spend their money domestically, saying it might mean changing your summer vacation plans to stay here in Canada and explore the many national and provincial parks, historical sites, and tourist destinations our great country has to offer. The boycott has taken on a life of its own, with Canadians joining Buy Canadian groups on social media. One Facebook group reportedly has 1.2 million members as of early March 2025. Apps like MapleScan, Buy Canadian, and Shop Canadian have been created to help Canadian shoppers avoid American products entirely. Canadian businesses have put up signs encouraging customers to buy Canadian products. And grocery stores report that American products are sitting untouched while Canadian alternatives sell out. But this isn't limited to Canada. The tourism disaster is spreading globally. About 15% fewer Indian tourists visited the U.S. in August compared to last year, costing American businesses roughly $340 million over the summer. This happened as tensions over tariffs and trade disputes escalated with India. European consumers are also turning away from American brands, with a European Central Bank survey revealing that 44% of Europeans are rejecting U.S. products. The human cost of these policies is visible in border states that have traditionally benefited from Canadian tourism. In Maine, which has earned the license plate slogan Vacation Land, business owners report noticeably fewer Canadian license plates and tourists. David Rowland, co-owner of York Beach Beer Company, observed that Long Anne's Beach is usually lined with Quebecois or New Brunswick tourists, and they're not here. In Old Orchard Beach, Maine, Canadians typically account for up to 40% of tourists each year, a massive economic impact that's now evaporating. Family-run businesses that have welcomed Canadian regulars for decades are watching 40-year traditions crumble. Michael Ryu, manager of the Sandpiper Beachfront Motel, described losing a family booking for 7 rooms at the end of July because, as the guest explained, given the political situation, they wanted to boycott the U.S. These aren't abstract statistics. These are real families making painful decisions to abandon beloved destinations because of hostile policies. The economic data reveals the true scope of the disaster. Credit card spending by Canadians is down 36% in border regions. In New York City, bookings by Canadians have plummeted 45%. Democratic governors are reporting serious supply chain disruptions alongside the tourism collapse. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey noted that beyond tourism drops, states are seeing real concerns about traveling to the United States and safety concerns about traveling to the United States and what might happen in terms of border activity. The response to this self-inflicted economic wound has been typically tone-deaf. Despite a history of calling for boycotts against companies, American officials have called Canadians nasty for boycotting U.S. alcohol and travel in retaliation for American tariffs. This hypocrisy only deepens Canadian resentment and reinforces their determination to avoid spending money in America. The irony is staggering. At a time when the weakened dollar should be attracting international visitors in record numbers, these policies are driving them away. America has become more affordable to visit than it's been in years, but also less welcome. Tourism-dependent cities like Las Vegas, Orlando, Los Angeles, and New York are being forced to rethink their marketing strategies, focusing more on domestic travelers because international visitors are choosing other destinations. For decades, the United States positioned itself as the ultimate destination for freedom, fun, and adventure. But under protectionist tariffs, border crackdowns, and diplomatic isolation, that image is crumbling, especially among Canadians who were once America's most reliable visitors. The question isn't whether this will impact the U.S. travel industry, it's how long it will take to recover from a crisis that was entirely avoidable. The broader implications extend far beyond tourism. This boycott represents a fundamental shift in how America's closest allies view the country. Canada isn't just any trading partner, it's America's longest undefended border, its largest source of imported energy, and historically its most reliable ally. When Canadians are choosing Costa Rica over Hawaii for their vacations and Mexico over the United States for their produce, it signals a profound breakdown in the relationship that has anchored North American stability for generations. The tariff war has created exactly the opposite of what was promised. Instead of making America great again, these policies have made America unwelcome. Instead of bringing jobs back, they're costing American tourism workers their livelihoods. Instead of strengthening America's position, they're driving away the country's most dependable international visitors and trading partners. The Canadian boycott of American travel and goods isn't just about economics, it's about dignity, respect, and the fundamental principles of international friendship. When threats are made to make Canada the 51st state while simultaneously imposing punitive tariffs, this isn't negotiating, it's alienating an entire nation. The result is a tourism catastrophe that's costing America billions and will take years to repair. As Canadian travel boycotts deepen and spread to other countries, the United States faces a choice. It can continue down this path of economic nationalism and diplomatic hostility, watching its tourism industry crumble and its international relationships deteriorate. Or it can recognize that in an interconnected world, prosperity comes through partnership, not punishment. The September statistics showing a 35% drop in Canadian visits by car represent more than just lost revenue. They represent lost trust, lost friendship, and lost opportunity. Every empty hotel room, every canceled vacation, every family choosing to vacation elsewhere is a testament to the real cost of failed policies. If Rica wants to reclaim its place as a global tourism powerhouse, it must first repair the bridges that tariffs have burned, starting with the most important bridge of all, the one to its closest neighbor,